2023 may be over, but the series I started continue on. Let's take a look. Hey everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to the next chapter. My name is Christopher Navo and I'm going to be your host. If this is your first time joining, thank you so much for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think of the content. Today's video is covering all the continuing series that I started in 2023 and are continuing on into 2024. This by no means is every series that I've been reading. This list only consists of books that are readily available as of right now or are going to have confirmed release dates in 2024 that I will immediately pick up on release. Now, I have 20 on this list, so there's plenty to cover, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I've covered these series plenty of times throughout this, 7 months on booktube. Plus, this could get very long if I kind of ramble on like I normally do. So, speaking of, without any further ado, let's get started. So the first portion of this list is in order by how far I am in the series. And the first one being Vinland Saga Book 7. This manga has been kind of my first experience reading manga. I've really enjoyed the series so far. I stopped at a weird time. I stopped at book 6, and book 7 is actually the last book to the second arc going on in this series. So it stopped at a really bad time, but definitely it's still fresh in my head. I might read the last 2 chapters of book 6 and continue on. Next on my list is Iron Gold. This is going to be book 4 of the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. Previously read Morning Star and Golden Sun. That was back in early 2023. One of those 2 books is going to be in my top reads of 2023. I'm still deciding on which one impacted me more. And then, of course, if I feel up to it, after I read Iron Gold, I will continue on with Dark Age and the latest Lightbringer. Next up, I have Memories of Ice. This is book 3 of Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. I've been talking about this book for a couple months on the channel because it's been a slow read. I think we're heading into our 3rd month of reading it. I am in a buddy read, and we're all kind of at the same pace with it. We are all taking our time because we are also reading other books at the same time. So it's not a big hurry. We want to enjoy the experience, and so the series has been going at a slower process, but that's okay. I think we get more enjoyment out of it. I imagine we will continue on. We all seem to be enjoying what we're reading in Memories of Ice. I'm about halfway through. So House of Chains will probably be a definite in 2024, and we'll see how much further we get in the series. I doubt we'll wrap it up in 2024, though. Next up is Demon in White, Book 3 of the Sun Eater series by Christopher Verrocchio. My last read of 2023 was Halloween Dark. I wrapped that up on New Year's Day. I am currently making notes about the read, kind of going over some of the chapters because I'm doing a live discussion with some other booktubers about Halloween Dark and probably include Empire of Silence in that as well. It's been a fun series, definitely one I'm going to continue on. I don't think I'm going to continue on right away. I have a lot of plans for January, and Demon in White is not part of that, but I hope to hit it at least starting in February. Next up is Bones of the Hills. This is another book 3, and this is part of the Conqueror series by Con Ingleton. Just recently finished up Lords of the Bow, book 2 of this series, and you guys, I was a little disappointed on Lords of the Bow, but the first book was so good that I am still intrigued on what's going to happen in this series. So I'm still invested in this series, and I am going to continue on. So hopefully Bones of the Hills will pick up a little bit of what I felt like was lacking in Lords of the Bow. Hitting up the book 2s, the next book I have is Gods of the Black Gate, book 2 of the Thrice Dead series by Joseph Sal. This series has been a lot of fun, at least, the first book has been. It was a quick read too. It was only a couple of sit downs, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very dark fantasy set, kind of like a post-apocalyptic world. The whole series is something I might be able to finish for this year because these books are relatively short. They are all under 400 pages, but it's a 6-book series as well, and I want to continue. Next up here, I have Call of the Bone Ships. This is book 2 of the Tide Child trilogy by R.J. Barker. I read The Bone Ships back in July of 2023, and I loved it. It was a series that unfortunately fell to the wayside due to my hiatus from reading and booktube and all that. So, and I never got around to picking it back up again. So I do want to remedy that because I did like the first book, and I want to see where this series goes. Next up here, I have When True Night Falls. This is book 2 of the Coldfire trilogy by C.S. Friedman. I read Black Sun Rising, which was the first book way back in April. I had a decent amount of time with it. Definitely has a lot of those 90s fantasy vibes to it. This does read as more of a science fiction fantasy hybrid to it, which was a unique take to a story like this. And I enjoyed a lot of the elements enough for me to want to continue and actually explore more of the C.S. Friedman and more of her work in the future. Next up here, I have Arm of the Sphinx, book 2 of the Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. I read Sentinel's Sens back in April of last year. This series is interesting. There's so many unique elements to it. I loved the layers of the Tower of Babel that we explore in book 1. Some of the characters that we meet along the way are really unique and interesting. I think my problem a little bit is actually with Senlin himself. This book is probably one of my lower ones on the priority list. It still held my interest enough to want to continue. So we'll see how Arm of the Sphinx lands for me. This next book is actually a pretty recent start, and that is The Forbidden Realms. This is book 2 of the Fallen Light series by H.C. Newell. I read Curse of the Fallen not too long ago, just back in November. So this, like I said, it was a late entry here. I love the dark fantasy elements that are present in this book. Not sure why I didn't get read one in December, but maybe it's because I think I had a couple of things I wanted to catch up on. So definitely a series I want to continue on into the new year. This next book is The Prophet of Adan. This is book 2 of the Adan trilogy by Philip Chase. Now, this series is going to be actually one case where I am actually going to reread the first book. I read the first book, The Way of Adan, way back in March of last year, I think when it was first released. And this was even before I started the channel, and I just want to revisit it again. I have in my notes a lot of like key parts and sections that really just stuck out to me, and I want to experience those again and then be able to consecutively go into The Prophet of Adan. So that is sort of my plan, to actually kind of binge this series a little bit. I wanted to get through the whole trilogy in 2023, and that didn't work, so I'm making it more of a priority in 2024 to complete that whole series. The last 2 books I have on my initial priority list are prequels to book 1s. The first one is The Night of the Moon. This is part of the Dance of the Light series by Gregory Contexus. I read The Return of the Knights back in October. Enjoyed the experience. This was one of the books of the Spiffbo 9 contest. I still thought it was a very strong start to a new series, so I want to read the prequel. The other prequel I want to read is Ruins of Smoke. This is part of the Smoke Smith series by João Silva. I loved Seeds of War back in, I read that back in April as well. This was a strong, solid start to a new series too. And I'm looking forward to anything this author comes out with in the future. So I'm going to have to settle with the prequel, but at least I'll be caught up once I do so. So this next group of books are just books that just have low priority for me. I'm either gonna put them on hold or maybe even like soft DNF them, possibly permanently DNF. I don't know. If you've been following my channel, you probably know what is going to be on this list. Thankfully, only 3. And again, I'm very open to have the possibility of exploring them right now, but they're either on hold or soft enough. And the first one is Full Moon. This is book 2 of the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I read Stormfront a couple months ago. There was some cool aspects to the story. I love the detective aspect to it, the supernatural, but the dialogue and the way the main characters specifically Iraq's around women, took me out of some otherwise maybe some intense moments. I don't know. It didn't work for me. I felt it was a little juvenile at times. So I hear this series does progressively get better. And maybe I'll pick up another book this year, or like maybe a light summer read or something, now that I know what to expect. Next book in series that I'm going to have on hold is The Well of Ascension. This is book 2 of Mistborn Era 1 by Brandon Sanderson. I read The Final Empire back in summer, and I just thought it was okay. I think this series is just one of those unfortunate circumstances where hype just ruined the series for me. This doesn't mean by any means that I'm going to stop reading Brandon Sanderson. There's a reason why he's one of the masters of fantasy right now. So I'm just gonna, cut away from the series and do some of his standalones. I'm gonna do Warbreaker and the Emperor's Soul and Trust of the Emerald Sea before I consider going back to Mistborn Era 1. But then I think my expectations will be in a better place coming back to that series, and I'll probably enjoy it more. This last book is going to be probably a soft DNF at very best. And that is The Dark Forest. This is book 2 of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy by Leo Sharshen, I want to say his name is. And the first book being The Three Body Problem, which I read all the way through, and I didn't really get anything from it. The premise sounded interesting at first, and there was some interesting aspects to the book, but I had no investment in character, and character is really big with me. So it's a series I really have no intention of reading. I need some convincing otherwise to pick up it again, but it's not going to be anytime soon. And now, some happier news. These last 4 books to their corresponding series are not yet released now, but will be available in 2024. And so I have included them here because these are going to be buys for me as soon as they're available. The first one being The Trials of the Empire. This is book 3 of the Empire and the Wolf series by Richard Swan. This is set to release February 6th. I read Tyranny of Faith and Justice of Kings last year. Justice of Kings was an amazing read. Now, I was a little bit let down with Tyranny of Faith, but the Justice of Kings was so strong that I'm still very highly anticipating this third book. So I am going to continue that and hopefully read that as soon as it is released. Next book I have here is What Feasts at Night. This is book 2 of the Sworn Soldier series by T. King Fisher. This is set for release February 13th. Last year I read What Moves the Dead, which is sort of like a retelling of Fall of the House of Usher. Highly enjoyed it. Couldn't wait to continue on with this series. I think T. King Fisher is going to be one of my new favorite authors, and so I'm looking forward to this sequel. The next book I'm looking forward to continuing the series with is Son of the Prophets. This is book 2 of Power of the Stars by Brian Wilson. I read The Forsaken Planet. That was actually my second to last read of 2023. When I got to the end of that book, I was just ready to pick up the second book. So I will have to wait for that April 2024 release. And I also hope to get the review out for The Forsaken Planet here in the next week or so. And the final series that I'm currently looking forward to continuing with the release of their third book is The Bloodsworn Trilogy by John Gwynne. This will be the last and final book to the trilogy, book 3. As of this recording, there is no cover art revealed for the book, but if it's anything like the first 2, I imagine it's going to be gorgeous. And looking forward to wrapping up this series. And then hopefully start John Gwynne's other series, The Faithful and the Fallen, in sometime in 2025. And that's all I have for you today. What are some of your 2023 series that you started that are carrying over into 2024? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, my name is Christopher Navo. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. And I hope to see you in the next chapter. Take care. Next up here, I have Red Gold by this. No. Next up here, I have Gold Iron. This is book 4. No. Next up here, folks, I have Call of the Bone Ships. This is book 2 of the Child Chillet. Call of the Bone Ships is book 2 of the Tide Trial Trilogy. I have called the Bone Ships. This is book 2 of the Chai Child. Oh my God. Thai Child Thai Child trilogy. Ruins of Smoke. This is part of the Smoke Schmidt. Is Ruins of Smoke. This is part of the Schmoke. Next up here, folks, I have the Smoke Smith Smearies.